Alright guys, what up here? We're doing a test with the actual KS118's and with the new QSC KC12's. So we're here, we're just setting them up. So I'm gonna link them through Bluetooth and just run some audio tests. And this is how they had them over at NAMM. But probably have to fix the alignment on the speaker so that the delay works correctly. But we're just gonna start with this. All right, so this is the speaker I had already set up for Bluetooth pairing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna link the speaker first. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit Bluetooth and we're gonna link. There it is, I don't know if you heard that. So it says it's linked. I already previously did that, but just by doing that, we can go to the other one here and check the status on that. So as you can see there, now it's linked. Now they are mono, so I'm gonna set everything in mono, right? You can actually select the setting you want for it to be a left or right speaker for stereo. But because we can actually turn off that tone, I don't know if you guys heard that tone. I mean, yeah, of course you did. It's loud. My KC12's connected, perfect. This is just my test run. I'm doing, you know, just basically going through the whole process of like tuning it, right, before I actually use it. I've already used them at an event, but I feel like I didn't have the settings set correctly. So this is what we're doing today, just messing around with them. And we're gonna run through the process of, you know, tweaking it so we get it right, right? So as you guys could imagine, I'm in a kind of like a garage type deal where it might rattle. So, all right, so this is what it sounds like without the subs. Listen, I'm still trying to figure out the adjustment of these. So I'm just gonna let y'all hear it with just the actual KC12's. And just so you guys can see, I'm not kidding. I have it down and both down to 0. So I don't know if you guys can see it, but yeah, there's 0. Disconnected, but whatever. So this is what it sounds like just with the KC12's. Found that at least from what I see here is that I'm gonna go down here with this. So give me a sec as I adjust. So the sub actually has its own setting, right? Kind of like the KS118's and all the subs and all that. So it does have the feature for controlling what you want the sub to do. So as you can see here, sorry, I'm trying to get as close as I can. I did find that these are just literally the sub levels. So you can actually adjust the volume just on the sub. So I did have it on balance, but I found it that boost sounds way better. And I did have it pretty loud. And you know, we're just getting a lot of bounce back from the, you know, the wall, whatever, but it sounds pretty good. I have the other sub here, and again, I want to show proof that they're down, they're on 0, so nothing's coming off. Or actually, I wouldn't say 0, sorry, they're off. And I gotta figure out the adjustment too, because I believe the manual says that you're supposed to turn the subs like way up high for it to like work together or something. So I don't know, we'll see. Anyways, so that's what I figured would sound the best, right? I mean, go back and test it out, but it's just, I'm trying to do this while we, you know, we're here, so you guys can see I haven't messed with anything. We're gonna figure out the volume again. It's kind of, I don't know, like 80%. So we're gonna play this song again, and these are, and I'm hoping, like I said, these are tracks that I own copyright to, so. It sounds nice when, right, when it's like simple, right? But when it's like those hard hitting ones, like, and this is why, you know, I'm playing EDM music, just to get that feeling. Pay attention to the limiter in the back. As you can see, I was trying to push them more, but it almost seems like they're being limited as to how much volume they can output. So what I was looking at is trying to see if the fans would turn on. Obviously not, because, sorry, I'm trying to get this tripod. Trying to get this limiter to turn on, and it won't, right? I think the only way to push it, and mind, you know, be mindful that I'm using Bluetooth, right? I didn't want to bring the controller because I'm waiting for a mixer to get here so I can actually control the subs, you know, from with it. It's the Allen and Heath one. So shout out to AGIPRODJ again. They're hooking me up. If you have not gone to AGIPRODJ, they run like crazy deals, and I'm not trying to just plug them in, right? I'm just saying, because I pay a lot of money, right, for this gear. And we want to make sure we save a good amount of cash, right? So they did offer me, and they are offering a lot of people, like, I think like almost 20%, 25% off orders. So if you go to the website, there's always like a coupon code on the top. So look them up, and they'll put that code into checkout, and you'll see how much savings it is. And that's why I love AGI, is because of that. There's no taxes, and a lot of times it's free shipping, right? Free ground shipping. And you know, I literally canceled an Amazon order for that mixer just to order from them because it was like about $150 less than everywhere else. So yeah, shout out to them, and I'll throw up that mixer once I get it in and show you guys how I'm using it. But anyways, I think I'm gonna probably have to turn, and I'm gonna push these speakers as loud as I can to try to get them to limit, because I mean, the fans haven't turned on or anything. I'm kind of see if I hear any distortion, but I'm gonna run the song again and see if we can do that. The boost sounded okay. I think we're more off better with a balanced, if you're gonna go that high, especially with like EDM music, right? We're gonna go ahead and change it for this one too. We're just gonna go balanced and go there. And then we're gonna go back and play the track, and I'm gonna pump it as loud as I can to try to get them to, you know, limit. Seems like we got it to limit, and I'm sorry you guys didn't catch it, but I did get it to limit, and it was, I mean, we're pumping these like pretty high. I do have them like set at like like way up high, right? So that's about 20 plus dB. I kind of have it like at what, 15 or something, and they were limiting after, you know, a little bit, but I was trying to, you know, start slowly gain, kind of stayed at the line for a little bit, and then added a few more notches, and yeah, it was starting to limit. So they both were doing the same thing, and that's why I kind of had to stop and kind of push them or down them back down so that, you know, won't damage them. But as you can hear, and you know, it sounds clear, yeah, but there's not like enough deep end. You know what I'm saying? Like there's not enough, like, how do you say, like bass. If you're next to them and you're in the area, right, where you're gonna, you know, have a small space, kind of like this, right, you're gonna notice the difference. Now, if you're like in a big open space where you do need to push more air, then, you know, you're gonna need external subs, or, you know, more subs like these, and just spread them around. I don't know if they're gonna sell the subs separately, you know, kind of like what Evolve is doing, or electro-voice, sorry. My whole reason why I got these is because, you know, they already have QSC stuff, and having the DSP integrated with, you know, making work with external subs, and, you know, kind of make them sound good. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read the manual because there's a specific setting you're supposed to have these subs so they sound better, and then we'll run the video again with that same song and see if you notice a difference. So as you can see here in the manual, it's stating to use the actual B output into, you know, a subwoofer. But if we go back down to go into the actual like sub only mode. Oh no, actually not. That's not what I meant. The output, right? So the output level, and the output levels can be controlled independently of the gain stage or system when connecting, you know, from whatever. And that's just the external, it's the B pass through, right? So, and it's saying if you're gonna daisy chain to another KC12, right? We daisy chain, turn the gain knob of the receiving KC12 all the way to the max level for correct gain staging. So this is what's confusing, right? It doesn't necessarily say like the setting. I know it does say like you can adjust the output level of the subwoofer, right? But it doesn't have the specific settings on how to set up the actual like delay and all that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna line them up better and then turn the subs on, running the whole system, you know, and seeing if it adds that extra oomph that we're looking for. Granted, I'm gonna be running it separately. I'm not gonna be doing this. I'm gonna be running a separate mixer that I can control the subs separately. But you know, I'm waiting for that mixer to get here. So we're left with doing this and figuring out how we can, you know, get at least this system to work to see how it sounds. I did have to run the gain all the way and, you know, just testing it, whatever, just making sure the limiter's not hitting. And it's been perfect for like the past 5-10 minutes of just running it, right? Just to see, just make sure we're good. And like I said, everything's set in the settings. There's the deep mode is off. I don't have that on. And they're both set like that. So that's, at least to me, what's supposed to sound like. And, you know, kind of getting the overall volume to making sure that the actual tops, right, and some of the sub and the KC or the KS118's are matching, you know, so that the volume, everything's keeping up together with the subs and with that as well. So we want to make sure that they're both, you know, sounding good together. So I'm gonna run another test here and show you guys what it sounds like with the gain turned up all the way. And again, this is not how I'm gonna run it. I'm gonna run it with a separate mixer and all that. So this is just, again, testing the DSP settings to see how it works. Granted, you know, we're using the iPhone microphone, so I know it's not going to sound as good, but I did feel much more bass, like it's pushing, you know, it's like I can feel it in my body, right? It's that nice deep bass from QSC. I'm going to run it again, and like I said, just trying to push on as much as I can, especially with the subs. I'm going to go ahead and play the song, and then I'll go back there. I'll wait till like half the song, whatever, and I hope, like I said, it sounds a little bit different to you. But again, like messing with these types of settings, like you without having the proper instructions on how to set these up, and I do need to contact QSC about that, like how to actually set them up so that they're, you know, it sounds good and all that. It could be that I'm, you know, not in the right output because it's, you know, it's messing with it. But you can see, right, if you do the output from the A, that means it's like the gain is like, you know, passing through whatever you pass through the speaker, versus output B, where it's got the, you know, the bumping up more of the sub and all that. So that's one of the nice things I do like about it, that you can actually bump it up using that setting versus, you know, trying to adjust other stuff. And I can see like an application like this where wouldn't need to bring a mixer, you know, a separate mixer to control just the subs. And again, I'm just doing that personally because I'm trying to control better mic feedback and all that when I'm doing, you know, shows or whatever. So it has nothing to do with this, but I'm just want to, you know, test all this out. But I'm gonna run it again, and then we'll see. We can push as much as we, you know, as much as we can. So. That I do like is that these top speakers are keeping up with the bass. Like, they're loud. Anyways, there was a pop there. Huh, 2 pops. Did you guys hear that? Let's turn this one back on. Let's see if we get a pop here. And like, that's another thing. Do you see that screen? It just popped up. Like, it was on instantly. Compared to the KW, the 12.2, the newer ones, right? They take forever to boot up. This is ready to go. We'll try it again, right? We'll turn it off and see if we can hear some pops. Oh no, there's nothing there. Maybe because, yeah, I'm supposed to have music on or whatever. Let's turn it on. You see the boom. The screen came on quick. I just tested it, and it makes a difference. It is loud as hell doing this. So if you have not tried Cardioid mode, this will definitely blow your mind. But I'm gonna just run it for a few seconds, and then I'm gonna switch it to ENDFIRE. But just wanted to show you the difference it makes. So as far as like, how everything's set up, this is probably the loudest, like for sure. If you were to, put Cardioid mode, you got to change the settings so so that speaker that's facing backwards, and you put this one so it's facing forwards. And I don't know if you heard, but I did go around just to kind of, hopefully capture that it is not as, loud back there. It is nice and quiet. It is freaking amazing. It's crazy. And granted, this is more for like a live band, right? When they don't want any of that bass in the back. Yeah, this is just a perfect setting for it. But also for DJing, because if we were to have these, in front of like the DJ booth or whatever, they sound perfect. Now, if you were to have two more, right, you can do the ENDFIRE solution, which I heard is the loudest. I have not tried it. So this is why I'm here running these tests to see the difference, right? Before I forget, so I don't know if you were able to hear, but the tops were able to keep up with the sub. Again, you got to realize that we're running the output of the DSP setting for the sub out, almost 20 dB more, and then we're adding in, all that dB extra, and they have not limited, right? So I've been paying close attention to the limiter light, see if, we're overpowering them, but no, these were able to keep up, which is amazing. This is crazy. I thought, they would distort or, just something happened, right? Obviously, when you're doing testing with loud speakers and you're pushing them up to 11, as they say, yeah, they're sounding great so far. All right, so we got ENDFIRE, right? We just moved, the Cardioid mode speaker that we had on this side. We just, scooted back that way. The speaker is facing that way, but it's pushing audio out this way. And just running it like these few past seconds, it sounds louder for sure. If we were to have, 4 of these, right, 2 on each end, it would sound perfect. It would push so much volume, but I haven't ran it to, 11. So we're gonna do that now and see how it sounds. My phone died, so I kind of had to stop what I was doing. I should have kept it charged, but this is the last test, right? And this is probably the best setting to get, some nice bass kicking to the front. It's not ideal to have it like this, right? I just wanted to do it to test it. And, if you were to have 4, right, you could do 2 on each side, and that probably get you the best sounding setup. But this at least to me, they kept up in a sort of way where if you were, in a smaller room or whatever, so I think they were good. It's just they were missing, more mids. I can hear more of the bass than I could. They were clear. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, they were super crystal clear. It's just more mid-range, right? When you're pumping them to 11, like I was here, and that's why it's recommended to use the tops, right? The actual KW series, which is good, right? And they were surprising. So none of the limiter and everything, as far as I've been running them. I did have them connected here. You've ever seen how the ENDFIREs are? You're supposed to kind of connect the tire, or not the tires, the casters. Sorry, I don't like saying tire. The casters. So you're supposed to have it like this, right? And right, if you were to have 8 or configuration where you can do ENDFIREs on each end, this is probably what's recommended. It's louder. Yeah, it's definitely bumping. I hope you were able to tell. I mean, sometimes it's hard with the microphone on the phone, and like I said, I just wanted to show the different settings and run through the whole setup. But yeah, these are pretty cool. I do like them for the portability, and that's one of the major reasons why I got it. And if I wanted to push more bass, just bring 1 or 2 subs, right? I probably won't run it like I did run it, where I get the out from there, because I'm going to be running a mixer, running that separately, just because I'm gonna be managing, you know, microphones and all that a little bit better with the feedback and all that. So I mean, these at least I haven't tried the feedback part of it, right? Where you're standing in front of it and seeing if you get feedback from the microphone as bad as, you know, as the other ones, as any other speaker. Let's just put it that way. I just wanted better control of, you know, subs and all that. So I did get Allen and Heath mixer, one of those compact ones. I think it's a CQ12T, I believe. So yeah, I mean, if you guys have any questions, let me know. These sound great. Leave a comment and like and subscribe. But with that being said, thank you guys. Appreciate you. See you next time. Peace.